Hello everyone, welcome back. It's Foot Forecast, and today's video I'm going to be ranking every Premier League attacking midfielder. This is also going to include some midfielders that play slightly deeper in the 8, but I've considered them more attacking minded than defensive minded, and the reason why I've done this is because in a separate video I'll be ranking every Premier League's defensive midfielders. What I'd also say is some midfielders may not be in this list because I've considered them wingers, and I've done them in a separate video which you can check out now, which was ranking every Premier League winger. In terms of how I'm going to do this video, it's going to be based off this season, but also based off who I just think is the better player in general. So if a player's had a poor season or underperformed, I may still rank them slightly higher because I think they're a better player than what they've shown so far. And that will be vice versa for the other way round. So the first club I'm going to be ranking is Chelsea, and I've only gone with Enzo Fernandez as the only attacking midfielder because Palmer is in the winger section. In terms of where I think Enzo Fernandez is on the list, I'm going to go with quality. I think he's a quality player, is Enzo Fernandez. He's come up with some big moments for Chelsea so far this season with goals. But overall, I think he's been one of Chelsea's best players this season. And I think quality is fair for a player like Enzo Fernandez. So then we're on to West Ham, and we've got Matheus Fernandes. He's definitely one of the higher tiers. I think he's absolutely brilliant as Matheus Fernandes. Definitely been West Ham's best player this season, and for this reason, I'm going to put him in quality. He's a player that should be getting a move in the summer. I've seen Real Madrid are linked with Matheus Fernandes. He's absolute top quality, and he deserves to be in that second tier. So then we're on to Morgan Gibbs-White at Nottingham Forest, and I think I'm going to put Gibbs-White in does the job. I think he's just below that quality tier, and I think the problem with Gibbs-White is his consistency can be a problem. If he was consistent, then I think we're looking at a quality Premier League midfielder, and I don't think he's had his best season so far. Then we're on to Spurs, and we've got a handful of players to go through. Starting off with Xavi Simons, someone that's been disappointing so far this season, but I think he is better than what he's shown, and I think so far he's struggled to adapt to the Premier League, and I think he's just a bit lightweight, is Simons. But I do think he's a better player than he's shown so far. So for that reason, I'm going to put Simons in does the job for now. If he has another poor season, if he remains at Spurs, then we're definitely looking at a player that we need more from. So then we're on to Conor Gallagher, a player that can play a handful of roles in the midfield. I think his best role is sort of the furthest forward midfielder, and I'm going to put Gallagher in does the job. He's just a decent Premier League midfielder. I think does the job just sums up Gallagher. He'll do a job for you, but he won't do anything more than that. He hasn't started great at Spurs, there's no doubt about this, but I think it's more down to the profile of signing that Spurs made. They didn't need a player like Conor Gallagher, they needed a more elite progressive midfielder, so that's why I think he struggled so far. So then we're on to Lucas Bergvall, and unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to put him in needs more. He's a huge talent, and I think he's got the potential to be a top draw midfielder, but Thomas Frank just didn't use him enough this season, and since Frank's been sacked, he's been injured. So I think for now, I'm just going to have to put him in needs more. This was exactly the sort of profile, though, that Spurs needed, and Frank just refused to use him. I don't know why. If he played this season, I definitely think we're looking at a does the job midfielder. So then we're on to a player that's been injured all season, and that is Kulusevski. Kulusevski played a lot of his last season in midfield, and I think for Kulusevski, I'm going to put him in quality. He's definitely a quality Premier League midfielder. He's a player that Spurs have missed so much this season, and he was definitely one of Spurs' best players last season. Then we're on to James Maddison at Spurs, another player that's been injured for the entire season. And the problem with Maddison is probably consistency. When he's on it, I would put him in a quality Premier League midfielder, but he's not on it enough. So for that reason, I'm going to put him in does the job. Then we've got the Wolves players, starting off with Rodrigo Gomez. He's had a couple of really good moments recently against Liverpool and Aston Villa, but realistically, right now, he is a champ midfielder. Then we've got Angel Gomez at Wolves. I really like Angel Gomez. He was impressive for England, but he has struggled so far this season. And there is a reason at the end of the day why he's signed for Wolves and not an alternative club. So for that reason, I think I'm going to put Angel Gomez in need more. I don't think he's a championship player though. And I think if Wolves can get him in the Championship next year, that would be great. And you've got a top Championship midfielder for sure. Then we've got the next player, which is Bellegarde. I'm going to put him in Champ. I just think he is a Championship midfielder. And then we've got the young kid, Matheus Mane. He's showing a lot of potential to definitely be a quality midfielder, even a top draw midfielder. But I think for now, I'm going to put him in need more. I think that's fair for Matheus Mane. Then we're on to Liverpool, starting off with Florian Wirtz. I think at the start of the season, you're probably looking at a top draw midfielder. He would be one of the best attacking midfielders in the league. But I think for now, I'm going to have to put Florian Wirtz in quality because he hasn't had his best season. It's not been a terrible season like some people have made out, but it's definitely not been his best. Then we've got Curtis Jones. I'm going to put Curtis Jones in does the job. He just does every midfield role to a very good level. So I think does the job is fair for Jones. And then we've got Dominic Szoboszlai, being Liverpool's best player so far this season. If he does this for another season, we're looking at a top draw midfielder, but I think for now, I'm going to keep him in quality. Then we've got Leeds, starting off with Sean Longstaff. I'm going to put Longstaff in need more. I still think he's Premier League quality, but definitely not sort of in the sort of top half, more sort of a side fighting relegation. Then we've got Stack. I'm going to put Stack into does the job. He's been one of Leeds' best players this season. He's been crucial for them and a huge reason why they'll most likely survive this season. Then we've got Aronson. I think at the start of the season, I would have put him into Champ because I think he's a Championship player. But he's actually proven me slightly wrong. He's actually been decent this season. So for this reason, I'm going to put Aronson into need more. Then we've got Joe Willock. I'm going to put Joe Willock into need more. I think he's a lower level Premier League midfielder right now. Then we've got Jacob Ramsey. I think he's another does the job midfielder. He just gives you a solid performance week in, week out. Then we've got Pascal Gross at Brighton. I think he's probably the definition of a does the job midfielder. So I'm going to put him in that here. Once again, just very consistent week in, week out. Then we've got Ayari at Brighton. Once again, I like Ayari. I think he's a good player. He's definitely talented. I'm going to put him in does the job. Then we've got Matt O'Reilly. I haven't seen enough of this player in a Brighton shirt. He's returned from his loan now, and I think for now I'm just going to put O'Reilly in need more. So then we're on to Arsenal, and starting off with Eze. This is going to be controversial, but I think Eze is overrated. I'm putting him in does the job. I think a lot of people will be saying quality, but he just goes missing too much. Eze is a great player for a couple of months in the season. That's usually what it's like for Eze. If you looked at Crystal Palace in the last 2 seasons, he was great from April to May. You then look at Eze at Arsenal, when he's almost gone missing in every single game this season. Apart from the Spurs games, he hasn't been good enough. And I actually think this is what Eze is like. This isn't a surprise to me that he hasn't been consistent this season, because that's what he was like at Crystal Palace. Last season, people were talking about dropping him for Palace. If a player's been dropped for Palace, then he's definitely not a quality Premier League player. Then we've got Ødegaard at Arsenal, and if this was a couple of years ago, you were talking about either a quality or a top draw player. Now we're talking, I think, of a does the job Premier League player. He hasn't been good enough for 2 seasons now, Ødegaard, so for this reason, I'm putting him in does the job. When he's at his best, he's easily a quality Premier League player. Then we've got Mikel Merino. I think he sums up the does the job tier, just a decent Premier League midfielder, but nothing special, so I'm going to put him in does the job. Then we're on to Crystal Palace, and starting off with Davini, I'm going to put Davini in Champ. I think he needs a loan move to the Champ. He's a young player, and I think that's a better league for him to thrive and sort of learn. Then we've got Kamada at Palace. I'm going to put him in needs more. I don't think he's a decent or a does the job Premier League midfielder yet, but I still think he is a Premier League quality player. Then we've got Tijani Reinders at Manchester City. At the start of the season, I think we're looking at a quality Premier League midfielder, but I think for now, I'm going to put him in does the job. I think that's fair for Tijani Reinders. He hasn't been as good as people were expecting. Then we've got Bernardo Silva. I think this is a player that continuously goes underrated. I think people forget about Bernardo Silva because he plays a handful of positions, but what he does for Pep is he's just a consistent player week in, week out. And if you're a consistent player for Manchester City week in, week out, then you're a quality Premier League player, in my opinion. Then we're on to Sunderland, starting off with Noah Siddiqui. I'm going to put Siddiqui in does the job. He's been one of the most underrated players in the Premier League so far this season, just consistently delivering a 7 out of 10 every week, and that sums up a does the job player. Then we've got Habi Diarra. I'm going to put Diarra in needs more. He's struggled for minutes so far this season due to injury, and maybe if he was fully fit, we'd be looking at a does the job player, but I think that's fair for Diarra. Then we've got Enzo Lafay at Sunderland. This is a weird case, Lafay, because in the Championship he actually wasn't that good, and I wouldn't have said he was probably ready for the step up to the Premier League. But so far this season in the Premier League, he's been absolutely outstanding, been one of the best players for Sunderland this season. So for this reason, I'm going to put him in does the job. Then we're moving on to Aston Villa, and I've got Harvey Elliott. This is a sad case for Harvey Elliott. He just hasn't got the minutes that he needed so far at Villa, and for this reason I'm going to have to put him in needs more, because he hasn't been able to play at all, mainly due to the loan clause in the contract. Then we're on to John McGinn, and I'm going to put John McGinn in does the job. Once again, probably sums up this tier. Just a decent Premier League midfielder week in, week out, and he's another player that I would say is underrated. Then we've got Ross Barkley. I think for a lower level to the Premier League side, Barkley could do a job, so I'm going to put him in need more. Then we've got Alex Iwobi, another player that just sums up the does the job tier, where he's just a consistent 7 out of 10 every week. So for this reason, I'm going to put Iwobi in does the job. Then we've got Tom Kearney at Fulham, a player on his twilight of his career. Realistically now, he is probably a Championship player, so I'm going to put him in champ. Then we've got Bruno Fernandes at Manchester United, and he's the first player in top draw. When he's in the 10, he's a world-class player. It really is that simple. And then in the system he's playing right now, in that Michael Carrick system, he's absolutely outstanding, and he definitely deserves to go into top draw, being the best Premier League attacking midfielder this season. It's that simple. And he's been consistent for years for Manchester United. The fact that Ruben Amorim played this player deeper was absolutely criminal, and I can't understand why he ever did this. Bruno Fernandes is way better further forward, and everyone knew this. Then we're on to the other Manchester United attacking midfielder, and that is Mason Mount. Unfortunately, he's going to have to go into need more, mainly due to injury, but at the end of the day, that is part of it. Then we've got Bournemouth, starting off with Justin Kluivert. I'm going to put Kluivert into need more. He had a bit of a purple patch last season, but I don't think that's the quality of the player. I just think he's probably a lower level sort of Premier League attacking midfielder. Then we've got Ryan Christie. I'm going to put him into need more. Once again, he's just alright, Ryan Christie. He's nothing more than that. And that's the same for Mikael Damsgaard. He's also going to go into the need more tier. So finally, we're ending with Everton, starting off with Harrison Armstrong, and I'm going to put him into the need more tier. He's definitely a better player than the Championship, and we saw this season. He was absolutely ridiculous in the Championship for Preston, a huge reason why they were having a good season, and since he's left, they've been absolutely crap. So I think that's fair for Harrison Armstrong. I think he could do a job at a lower level Premier League club right now. He's got huge potential to be a quality Premier League midfielder. And then we've got Charlie Alcaraz. I think he's probably a champ player based off what I've seen this season. He was good for Southampton a couple of years ago, but he just doesn't seem to be the same player. So I think champ is fair for Charlie Alcaraz. And finally, we've got Dewsbury Hall. I'm putting Dewsbury Hall in does the job. I really like Dewsbury Hall. I think he was a really good signing for Everton in the summer. Let me know your thoughts on this tier list. Where do you agree? Where do you disagree? And if you enjoy this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel as well as liking the video.